Welcome to the Crosscheck Podcast. I am your host, of course, which you don't know who I am, Chad McGinnis. So I want to welcome you guys to something new for me, a new project that I've kind of wanted to do for a very long time, but just kind of haven't had the guts to really do it outside of maybe like a class project or something like that. But what is the Crosscheck Podcast? You're probably wondering. So this is kind of your one-stop shop for all things lacrosse. I know there's a couple kind of podcasts, but I feel like this is both something good for me because it's something I'm very passionate about, and also something that, isn't super big. I have obviously a lot of passions just like anybody, but I want to have fun. I want to talk about lacrosse because it's something I'm very passionate about, and we're gonna explore all things from D1 lacrosse, all the big time schools. We're gonna talk some PLL, maybe some. I want to do some like personal stories because who doesn't like talking about themselves, and we're just gonna have to go from there. I don't want to waste any more time. I guess we're gonna kind of get into the first kind of thing that I kind of want to talk about, and it's me. It's personally me. So where do I, how did I find the game? How did I get connected to the game? And kind of like my lacrosse journey. I know I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible because, I'm sure I can get boring at times, and you're going to figure that out as this goes on, hopefully. But, so I've been in the game, I think this is year 15 for me. And yeah, the first time I think I ever became, aware of the sport was through my cousin. I know there was a couple TV shows that I watched that kind of had lacrosse, and looking back now, it's kind of like they had no idea what they're doing because the game of lacrosse, it looks like shit, to be honest, like actual shit. But my cousin was the first person in like our family to kind of, try out the game. He played goalie, and then from that, I kind of got interested. I know at my high school, there was a kind of like a summer program where we would basically just go out and play games, get taught the sport, how to catch, throw, stuff like that. And that was created by who would become my eventual high school coach and the first coach I ever had in the sport of lacrosse. So started out in a summer program, and I think that was in 5th grade, the summer in between my 5th and 6th grade years. However fucking long ago that was, I think 2015, 2016. Yeah, I think that was my first kind of experience with the game is through that summer program, and then it kind of just took off. I've played a lot of sports in my life where, I've kind of jumped around. I played football, baseball. What else? I wrestled for a time. So I've tried a couple different sports, but none quite really, caught my attention quite like lacrosse, And I mean, 15 years will tell you. I think that the only other sport that I've been able to play for a long period of time was baseball, and I played that for 5 years. So, yeah, lacrosse kind of changed my life, gave me something to do, gave me something to be passionate about. And I'm not going to, sit here and tell you that I'm the best lacrosse player of all time because I'm not. I'm frankly not. And I think if you looked up stats on me anywhere, you'd be like, oh my God. Oh. But hey, I get to play Division III lacrosse, so I'll take that any day. So I guess kind of moving on from there. So played throughout high school. My sophomore year is when COVID happened, so that season ended up actually getting canceled, which not ideal. Which, funny enough, history just has a weird way of repeating itself. We'll get into that as I kind of get through the rest of my career or whatever. But crazy thing is that I thought it was going to be a pretty good year for my high school team, stuff like that, but it didn't pan out. And I mean, I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason. I don't know whatever reason the virus was for, but hey, here we are. Yeah, after that, got through high school and then decided that, maybe this was something that I wanted to do, after high school. Kind of looked around for different schools, did a few camps. I think that was my biggest thing, is that I didn't really get into many camps because throughout high school, I didn't really know exactly if I wanted to play lacrosse in college or, outside of high school. I feel like I kind of threw myself head over heels into the sport kind of late after my sophomore year when things got canceled is when I kind of started taking it seriously. And I know like when it comes to recruiting, like I probably should have gotten on it a little bit, sooner, but things didn't happen that way. And I mean, after I realized like, oh, if I want to play in college, I should probably, you know, go to camps and shit. But whatever. But so junior year, senior year, obviously played all year round. Honestly, like I don't think there really was a time where I wasn't in the game in some shape or form. Like we played obviously spring with the main season. Played in like little 6-on-6 leagues throughout the fall and winter, and so I was hooked with the game. I know as my junior and senior year kind of progressed and whatnot, I kind of realized like, hey, this is what I wanted to do. Wanted to play in college, and obviously it's a really cool opportunity just because statistically, I think like only like 1% of athletes get to play in college. Like there's not a lot. It's not a big portion of people. I might have that stat wrong, but I know it's a very small number. So getting the opportunity to play, it's not a given. You have to try, put in some time and work for, which I will say I did. Senior year rolls around, play whatever, and then end up committing to Mount St. Joseph University, just outside of Cincinnati, a small D3 school. It was the right place for me at the time, just because it's what I wanted out of a school. Is I wanted something, obviously I wasn't playing Division 1, so it wasn't really a job for me, because let's be honest with ourselves here, like the Division 1 is a job, and maybe even some like D2 schools, but like D3, we're not getting paid to be there from athletics. Like, I did have to kind of worry about my, I guess, future when it comes to my like academic life, I guess, and what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, which I still don't know what to do, but that's not even what I'm trying to get at here. But yeah, started there at MSJ, played 2 years there. After the 2 seasons I was there was not very good. I did get the chance to like start both these 2 years. Like I rarely came out of the game unless I was hurt, which did happen a couple times, which was super cool. Because again, like I mean, let's be honest. Like whether it's Division 3, Division 2, Division 1, like again, like I said, not a lot of teen or kids get to experience that, and not a lot of athletes get the chance to play for any division or play after high school. And I got the opportunity, and I got to start. And again, am I gonna sit here and say I'm the best player ever? Hell no. Like hell no. Like I'm an average player at best. But what I'll say is like I tried to work my ass off. I tried. I really did try to work my ass off and put time and effort into what I was doing on and off the field. So that kind of leads us to now. So I'm in my third year of college right now. I've since transferred from Mount St. Joseph. So obviously, like drama, like there was some, I guess, drama when it comes to MSJ's lacrosse program and whatnot. And I just kind of needed a reset. I was kind of getting to a point where I just needed to get away. So I transferred. I picked up my life and moved 7 hours away from friends, family, everything. So here I am now in Illinois, trying to pursue, the final 2 years of my lacrosse career while also, trying to worry about my education and whatnot. So yeah, that's me. I guess other kind of key, notes from it is like I was a defender, so I played defense, close defense. I know Last season I played basically everywhere except for goalie, and I thought that was fun. Am I a good person to be have on offense? Probably not, but hey, I could say I could play a little bit of defense, and I could shoot the ball. I had a goal last year. I don't recommend looking at my stats or any video from that season or any of the times I played. They're there. They're out there. You could find them, and you can shit on me all you want. I get it. That's fine. I don't really care. But yeah, that's kind of me, and I think kind of going back to kind of like this podcast and whatnot is I kind of want it to be where maybe I share stories for this first kind of segment, or if I have people on the podcast, maybe they can share their story and whatnot, because I think it's cool because everybody has a different kind of view of the game and different. I don't know. They've done different things to get to where they've been in the game. Some people have played for longer. People have played for shorter amounts of times, and both kind of sides of it are able to kind of fall in love with the game. And I mean, if you're watching this, then you probably have some interest in the game as well. And I mean, hey, it's a game we love. It's a game we put our bodies on the line for, our blood, sweat, and tears and whatnot. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be a part of a game like this, especially one that's like growing as much as lacrosse is. So with all that shit out of the way, I guess we can get to the more interesting topics, let's say. Basically, kind of what I want to go from here is kind of dive into what's happening in the lacrosse world, especially D1. We're gonna do, I guess, kind of a breakdown of like the past week of lacrosse. Basically, like I want to go over scores, reactions, because let's be honest, I watch quite a shit ton of lacrosse, and I'm sure you guys do too if you are watching this or whatnot. So kind of want to go over scores and stuff like that, reactions to some of the games I watch. Obviously, I'm only one guy. I'm only one man, so I wasn't able to watch every single game. And I mean, like, we look at the lineup from this past Saturday, the 5th. It's like, do you really think I'm going to sit here and watch Lemoyne and Wagner? Do you really think I'm going to watch that game when we have games like shit? I swear I'm looking at the laptop here. Like we have, oh my gosh, so many games. We have like Duke and Boston. That's a top 20 matchup right there. We had Harvard and Dartmouth go at each other and whatnot. It's like, look, I got to pick my poison here, and I got to pick games that I am interested in. And I'm not going to lie, I did kind of tune into that game for a slight minute just because I wanted to see, I don't know what lower D1 is like. And I got to tell you, some of the shit I was seeing in some of the lower D1 games, I was like, huh, yeah, maybe I could play D1. I can't play D1. It looked like a mess, but that's just how it is. And I gotta say that like a lot of what I say and a lot of shit talk that I give it's all my own personal opinion, and you can shit on me all you want. And if you go to Wagner or whatever other school, Lemoyne, go fuck yourself. I'm just kidding. Don't. I didn't mean that. I promise. Yeah, so I guess let's kind of go over some of the I guess my top picks for games that I guess watched, over the year, or I guess like something that's some games that I guess were close or no newsworthy, if that makes sense. I know obviously, like I kind of mentioned before, Boston U and Duke went at it. Duke actually ended up winning that game. I think Duke is going to do pretty well. Obviously, they're in the ACC, so that's a pretty stacked conference. They kind of run shit right now. Like, I mean, you have Notre Dame who went back to back. You have Duke. You have Virginia, who's kind of on a down year. You have UNC, who to me is surprising, like this season. And I mean, I will say, like, I am a UNC fan, so to see them kind of, come out of these past couple years where it's been kind of a down year ever since Chris Gray left to now is pretty damn cool. When you have Owen Duffy and Petramala, why can't I think of his first name? But you guys know who I'm talking about. But another game that I know I watched was the Ohio State and Johns Hopkins game. I'm also a Johns Hopkins fan. I mean, I guess you can call me a bandwagon. That's fine because, there was a time where they were a really good team. And I mean, they've had their ups and downs since the early 2000s or whatever. But I really like this team. I think that I was really bummed out because, look, I'm an Ohio boy, which we got into. Is like, I'm not an Ohio State fan. Like, I'm really not. I'm really not. I grew up in Cincinnati, so if you know anything about rivalry and whatnot, like, no, I'm not an Ohio State fan, even if they are the only Division One Ohio team that really gets talked about that much. But I was really hoping that Johns Hopkins was going to win. They do have a lot of injuries and whatnot on their team. I know. What's his face here? Let me pull up the game here. But I really like the game. Like Johns Hopkins, I really was pulling for him. But like I said, they had a bunch of injuries on their team. I know their goalie Luke Stout is hurt. They have one of their attackmen hurt as well. So they're kind of still trying to figure out, I feel like, their identity, but also I think it's kind of telling of the depth that they have, or the lack thereof, for that matter, is that they just really didn't have the depth to kind of keep up with Ohio State. And I mean, look, I gotta admit, Ohio State, when it comes to looking around the league and whatnot, like, Ohio State has definitely surprised me the most. Probably been the most surprising team, and I think everybody can agree with that, is like Ohio State kind of just came out of nowhere. I didn't really expect them to have a good year this year, not gonna lie. But, they have Big Tasty and Cage, who, for a man that size to be able to do what he was doing during the Johns Hopkins game and during this season, what the hell? How in the hell? Jesus Christ. But yeah, Big Tasty, man. He had some crazy saves during that game. And I mean, Johns Hopkins put some shots on Cage. And I mean, for a time there, it did look like they were going to come back. But that ended up not happening. Like that, I don't know. The game was just not in favor. The luck was not in favor of Johns Hopkins because, like I said, they put a lot of shots on Cage, and only, what was the score? 10 of them went in. Only 10 of them went in, and I think if we look at, I don't know, they just had a fuck ton of shots. They still have a really good team. Still talking about Johns Hopkins. It's just, again, I think with the injury bug kind of depleting their subs and the people that kind of, their depth, it's just not ideal per se. And something that I've kind of been looking at like all season and like when watching their games is that I just don't think their defense can really hold up with a lot of the other high-powered offenses throughout the league. If you think about, like, you just look at their other games, the games that they've had this season and whatnot, it's just, the losses kind of make sense. You look at North Carolina when they played them, like, they have Petramala and Duffy, two really, game-breaking players and whatnot. Plus, they have, although a young defense, like, their defense is solid. So it's just, it makes sense when you look at it. Obviously, North Carolina was a close game, but even like Syracuse is like, Syracuse dropped 13 on them. I don't think they just have the pieces necessary, and I think it's only going to get worse, unfortunately, for them, especially, going in the next year and whatnot. Peter Millman is going to, I'm sure he's going to do fine when it comes to recruiting and whatnot. I haven't really looked at their, people that they're recruiting and whatnot, but I think defensively they need some help, in my opinion. Is maybe you're wrong. Like I'm wrong with that. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just from what I'm seeing. Like they need some help defensively, and hopefully they can get it. I think they can turn it around. Like I think they're going to be able to turn it around, but the end of the season is approaching pretty quickly, and if they want to compete with Ohio State for that instance, or uh, I know Penn State for that instance, or even Michigan, who are all these are all ranked teams, and I mean you can't even forget about the Terps. Like it's a tough division that they're in, and I mean the Big Ten is kind of it's booming right now. Like all these teams are doing really well if you think about it, because I know like Michigan had an explosion these past couple years, and they're still doing pretty good. Like I said, they're still ranked, and I mean they just beat Penn State on Sunday. So I mean, or I lied to you. Penn State just beat them 11-8. So it is what it is. But again, kind of going back to Ohio State, it's like Ohio State kind of just came out of fucking left field and is really just taking over the league. The D1. I think they do have a real shot of making it to championship weekend, and which is crazy because like before the season, like I said earlier, like I did not see them having as good of a year as they do now. And I mean they're on an 11 game winning streak, I'm pretty sure. Like that's pretty damn crazy. So, and it's not like they're playing a necessarily easy schedule like either. Like they're playing a pretty good schedule. So I don't know. Hopefully we figure shit out. Hopefully as a Johns Hopkins fan, hopefully we figure shit out, because it's getting crazy. It's getting a little fucking crazy. Okay. Another I guess game that I guess, and I know a lot of people watched. I know I watched was sorry for the notification. Is obviously the Notre Dame Syracuse game. Big game for the season. Big game for both of these teams as we enter conference play or whatever. But I've kind of fallen off of the Notre Dame bandwagon, because they really have lost a bunch of people. Like 2 years ago when they were making their first championship run, I was all for it. Like I love Notre Dame. I love the team that they had. They were a stacked team. And I mean, for them to go back-to-back years is really says something for what they were able to build in South Bend. But it's not looking good for Notre Dame. It's really not. Obviously, Syracuse, like we kind of talked about earlier with as we kind of talked about earlier with Johns Hopkins, it's just they have a super high-powered offense. It's just crazy. It's just Trey Deer, and then you have what's his face. That's what Joey Spallino is going to be called from now on. Is what's his face. But you have those people. You have Trey Deer, Sam English, Luke Roa, Finn Thompson. All of those people that they're crazy. Like it's such a good offense. They're so creative when it comes down to it. Like it's just unfair. Like it really is unfair when it is. They had two losses early in the season against Maryland and Harvard. I think to me it was earlier enough to where they were probably just still trying to find their identity. I'm not gonna lie, I can't really remember what happened in both of those games. It looks like Maryland beat them 11-7, and then Harvard beat them 15-14. So it's not bad games. They're not getting blown out by anybody. And I mean, I think anybody is going to have a loss like that every now and again. Even if you are, the best team, like it's not every day you're going to come out, firing. But for them to go into South Bend and to kick the living shit out of Notre Dame is saying something. I think, when we look at, at the standings and the division and whatnot for the ACC. Like, obviously, Big Ten, ACC, they're going to be the powerhouses of what's going on right now. But man, the ACC, I think they're taking a step back this year. Like they really are. I think this year the Big Ten has just a better overall, number of teams who are just solid than the ACC does right now. I'm not saying that like they're not like amazing, because you still like have a bunch of ranked teams, or I think all of the teams in the ACC are ranked, but I don't know. It just, to me, they're not as dominant as it is, past years. I mean, obviously you see that with Virginia. Like Virginia has taken a massive step back. Obviously they lost a lot of guys this past year, and they're only going to lose more. But obviously it's just a down year because we're used to, over the past couple of years, Virginia being in it, and Notre Dame being a powerhouse, Syracuse kind of making a resurgence as of late, and I know North Carolina could go both ways. I think if you think back to 2022 North Carolina, like obviously with Chris Gray and whatnot, like that's a different time. So, like I kind of mentioned earlier, we're kind of used to the ACC kind of running things, but that's not necessarily the case anymore, I don't think. So I think it'll be fun to watch as we go into the rest of the season and whatnot, to kind of, I guess, kind of see where the hell things go, if that makes sense, and like who ends the year on top, if that makes sense. Because it's really, at this point, it's still really anybody's game. Like it's a really competitive league, this season especially. So I think we're seeing a lot of fun lacrosse. Honestly, like this is a good year for lacrosse. But outside of that, other, I guess, games that I kind of was at least keeping track of was I guess Rutgers Maryland. Like that's crazy game. Obviously very close game. Only 8-6 was the score. Maryland did end up falling, but that's huge. Like we were kind of talking about. Like it's hard to stay on top, I guess, and bring your all every game. Obviously it's possible because we've had Maryland knows how to have an undefeated season, but it's everybody's gonna have an upset every once in a while. But that was pretty crazy one. When I saw that, I'm pretty sure I screamed. If I'm being honest, I think I screamed. I might have been in like the middle of I don't know, like shopping or something, but I screamed. And all the looks and stuff like that. I think they felt my pain when Maryland lost, even though I'm not the biggest Maryland fan, but an upset's an upset. But kind of looking around, obviously, I think another team that like is kind of under the radar and I feel like hasn't been talked about much is Army. They're ranked. What are they ranked now? Let's look at the polls here. Army's ranked 5th in the nation, so they jumped up a spot from Saturday. Like Army's got a pretty damn good team. I'm trying to think of players that I know. Like obviously, like I just feel like I don't really hear much about this team, to be honest. They've only lost one game so far, so they're 9-1. They lost to Boston U on the 22nd of not August, of March. So they played a pretty good season. I'm trying to see. They played UMass, Rutgers, Yale, Mercer. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of these opponents aren't really the strongest opponents when it comes down to it. But I mean, hey, for them to beat North Carolina, I think that's really big for them. Obviously, knowing how good North Carolina is this year, they just beat Colgate, and then they play Navy next. So interesting. But yeah, Patriot League, it's looking pretty good. I mean, they're sitting atop the Patriot League right now at 4-1. I think Boston U is honestly their only. Well, they do play Navy next week, so I think they could come and steal the top spot. Although in the conference, they're 4-1, so it's possible. It's possible. It's pretty close competition so far in the Patriot League. I mean, I think the only people that don't really have a chance right now is Loyola, which Loyola is a story in its own because they seriously dropped off this year. Seriously, like I did not. I think they're I guess, the biggest disappointment from this year so far is just how they've only won one game, and that one game came against Bucknell Saturday. Actually, I think that's crazy because I mean, you let's look at their schedule here. It's like they played Georgetown, played Maryland next week, Johns Hopkins, Rutgers, Colgate, Providence. And I mean, if you look at it, like it's kind of a heartbreaking season for them. Like they've lost a lot of their games by 1 point. They lost to Maryland by 1 point, Johns Hopkins by 1 point, Providence by 1 point, Lafayette by 1 point. So like it's a tough go. Like I've speaking from experience, having that many 1 point losses, it sucks. Like it does suck, big time. So I mean, obviously, how many games do they have left? They have 4 games left. So I mean, obviously, winning season's kind of out of the conversation here, but they can bring it back. They got Townsend on the 8th, so hopefully, when we come back next year, they're sitting at 2-9, which still not the best, but hey, you got to start somewhere. All right, you got to start somewhere, and hopefully they can kind of turn it around and go in the next season with on a good note, you know. But that was a lot of those were a lot of the games that I kind of kept touch of. Like I think some fun games if you're looking to maybe go rewatch some games. It kind of looks like the Monmouth Townsend game was pretty good. Townsend beat Monmouth by 2, so it was a very close game. I mean, even the game we were talking about earlier, Lemoyne and Wagner. I mean, very close game. It seems like it was a defensive battle for most of that game. So these are some good games. I mean, I'm always going to be a person that is like go watch lacrosse, especially if you are a player. I think that's important is to watch lacrosse, study what other players are doing. And I mean, if you're in the college level or even in the high school level, like watching your opponent's film is, I think, very, very important as well. And just learning how to break down film too. I think it's super fun, super interesting. It looks like the Detroit Mercy and BMI game won the OT. So these are some pretty good games, some pretty fun games. That the Bucknell Loyola game we were talking about, it was overtime. I didn't know that. I kind of just forgot about it. Georgetown and Marquette went to 2 overtimes. When I see overtimes, I think about, so I still follow my high school lacrosse team. And I just saw, if you follow like no context lacrosse, I just saw that my high school team went the 9 overtimes. When I saw that, I think I about threw my phone because I was like, how in the hell does one do that? How does one team do that? How do you go into 9 overtimes? Obviously, wasn't there to watch the game. Kind of wish I was because I feel like that'd be a fun game to watch. That would have been a fun game to watch. But 9 overtimes, 9, wild, wild, wild. So now we're going to talk about kind of what's coming up. This next week in the world of college lacrosse. There's some really good games coming on. Obviously right now we're kind of getting into conference play, so you get a lot of conference opponents, a lot of tough matchups. For some, I mean, you have Notre Dame playing Virginia. Obviously Virginia, like we kind of talked about earlier, is having kind of a down year, but I feel like with how things are going, they kind of need a win. I think it's still going to be a very competitive game. Most games in the ACC are competitive, at least. So I mean, Notre Dame is got to bounce back from that loss last week, whatnot, and I mean, kind of staying in the ACC. You got Duke and North Carolina. Like that's going to be a good game. That's going to be a fun game to watch. I know I'm excited. I know that's at 4. And then Syracuse and Cornell, so that's a top 5 matchup right there. So like that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think Cornell is another team, for me at least, that's kind of been going under the radar. I haven't really watched many of Cornell's games, but obviously like they're ranked number one, so obviously they're pretty good, and it's cool to see Cornell kind of get back to uh, being towards the top of the polls, because I know obviously a couple years ago they were in the championship. So for them to kind of come back, hopefully they can make a good run. We'll see, maybe. But Syracuse Cornell, that'll be a good game. Obviously, Syracuse with that high-powered offense, it's gonna be hard to beat. Hard to beat. In the Big Ten, we got a bunch of different matchups. Well, not a bunch, but a couple really good matchups. Ohio State and Maryland, they're going to go at it. I think that's going to be super fun watch. Maryland, I don't really know many of their offensive weapons, but their defense I know has been pretty damn good. So I think it's going to maybe be a defensive battle, because I mean Ohio State, they got Big Tasty. Big Tasty is a dog. Big Tasty is a dog. He's probably, not probably, he is the best goalie in the league, in my opinion. I don't really see many other people as good as him. I mean, I will say Maryland's goalie is really good himself, too. I think that's the other thing, is these defenses are going to be really good. Logan McNaney, he's really good. I mean, he's wearing the number 1, so obviously he's got to be somewhat good. At least somewhat good. He's really good. But yeah, I think outside of that, let's see here. Outside of that, I mean, it's one that we kind of mentioned earlier is like Army Navy. That's always going to be always a fun game. Navy's having a pretty good year as well. Obviously, Army's top 5 in the league, but I think it's still going to be a fun game to watch. I think that's always an interesting game, and at least somewhat competitive. I know there's been years in the past where Army's kind of steamrolled Navy, but with the year that Navy's having, I think it'll be a lot closer than years prior. Hopefully, we'll see. Obviously, I'm kind of biased. I kind of like Navy. I have personal reasons why I like Navy. I don't really want to I won't really get into, but I do really like Navy. So hey, maybe Navy pulls the up. Oh my God, maybe Navy pulls the upset, but I doubt it. But there's a chance. There's always a chance. That's the cool thing about lacrosse. There's always a chance. Maybe, possibly, like 20%, maybe. I don't even know. Penn State, Johns Hopkins, another good game out of the Big Ten. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a good game. Obviously, Johns Hopkins still riddled with the injury bug. I kind of want to. I'm hoping that these people that are injured keep coming back. Obviously, Luke Stout would be nice to have back in between the cage. Just because, again, it's kind of been hard for them because they just haven't had. I guess that kind of. What am I trying to get at here? They just haven't had that consistency to kind of, I guess, be comfortable, if that makes sense, as a team. Like they just because of the injuries, especially to their goalie, to their attack line, like they've had to plug and play a lot of different pieces, which it's hard. It's hard to do. Obviously, I'm not a coach and whatnot. I'm just speaking from what I've experienced. Is like it's hard to when you don't have that continuity within your lines. It's kind of hard because you got to figure out how to play with each other, basically. And I think hopefully Russell Melendez, that's who I was kind of thinking about earlier, is like he comes back because obviously he's big. Need him bad, because I think you pair him up with Hunter Chavette. You have Russell Melendez and Charlie Eiler, the sophomore. I think that's a pretty damn good attack line from what I'm seeing. I think that's a pretty good one. And then obviously, coming out of the midfield, you have Matt Collison, who's a dog. Brooks English is doing pretty good this year. He's their assist guy. He's got 15 assists. And you can kind of plug and play the other one. Maybe it's Dylan Bauer or Chuck Ralston. But that's gonna. I know I kind of just went off on a tangent there with Johns Hopkins. I feel like I'm very biased towards Johns Hopkins, and I'm sorry, but that's just the name of the game, baby. That's just the name of the game. I have my team. You have your team. Damn it. And if you agree with me, cool. But if not, I respect your opinion. I truly respect your opinion. I don't, but unless we're talking like Michigan, then maybe not. But I am from Ohio. No, well, damn. Options. Unless you're from Wagner or Lemoyne, you can. I respect your opinion. We'll just continue the hate from beginning of this episode. But there's a lot of good games, a lot of fun games coming up this year or this weekend that I think it's obviously as we get towards the end of the year, the lacrosse year that is, as we get in the conferences, teams they're going to show themselves. They're going to stand out from the bunch. I'm surprised. Like I'm not going to lie, I'm surprised that Ohio State isn't ranked number one. I kind of want to see what Cornell. Like I said, I haven't really been watching much of Cornell, but that wins against Denver. They beat the shit out of Denver. Holy shit. Penn State's their only loss, but they beat Princeton, which Princeton's having a really good year as well. Yale, Penn, Albany, Brown. Like I don't really understand how Cornell is ranked number one per se. If we're talking about like record and just like strength of schedule, especially. I know like all the information that I'm looking off of is from Inside Lacrosse. I think I probably should have said that earlier, but that's where I get a lot of my information. So, but when we compare the two schedules or whatever, Ohio State has more impressive wins to me. I think you look at they beat Virginia, they beat Notre Dame, they beat Denver, which Denver's always going to be a tough opponent. They beat Penn State, and obviously they just beat Johns Hopkins. So, like I don't really understand it. Maybe you guys have a better understanding of that, but I don't really. I think Ohio State, especially with the play that they're getting from their defense, and they're just playing complementary ball. Like they really are. They're a complementary team. They play really good both ends. And I mean, like we've talked about before, Big Tasty in net, best goalie in the league. So I think that Ohio State should be number one, and then I think you could probably switch around Cornell and Princeton around. But I think after that, it's pretty good. You have Richmond kind of climbing up the polls here a little bit. Harvard, it's good to see the Ivies back in contention. I feel like I really haven't seen the Ivies in the fucking the polls in a very, very long time. But yeah, it looks good. There's a lot of cool games coming on. I think, obviously go out, watch lacrosse on the various different platforms that they offer because pain. Because pain. That's why. Because pain. Because they hate us. They hate us. They hate us as the viewer. Just kidding. I don't really want to get into it. Maybe we'll get into it at some point. But obviously, there's a huge discourse, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, within the lacrosse community of, why can't we just have one singular streaming platform? And there's a lot of reasons why. I think the biggest thing is that it takes so much effort and so much manpower to put that together. Also money too. I think that's a big thing. So obviously, it would be nice to have, all the games streamed on ESPN or somewhere that we can all watch as a community. But obviously, I don't necessarily think that's going to be possible for a long time. But that's just my opinion on the subject. But we're gonna kind of shift gears here. Not by a lot, it's still obviously a lacrosse, but we're gonna talk a little bit of professional. We're gonna talk a little bit about that PLL, baby. PLL. I'm not gonna lie. I would talk about the NLL too, but I don't really follow the NLL. I really don't. It's for whatever reason, it just has not captured my attention as much as the PLL has, or college. I would say I'm very invested in college. not as much. I'm still invested in the PLL, but not as much as college. And then NLL, I watch an occasional game. I don't hate it. I don't hate the games. I don't hate that league. It's just, it's not my, it's not my cup of tea. It's not my, I don't know, whatever. But let's get into some PLL news. And the first kind of news I want to get into is what in the hell are the Redwoods doing? What are the Redwoods doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? We don't know. Do you know? I don't. What are they doing? Clearly giving everybody away. Can you tell that I'm a Redwoods fan? Because I am. I am. Unfortunately, I am. Damn it. And we haven't had a really good season in a couple years now. It's frustrating being a Redwoods fan. But yet I'm still here. I think, some of the people that I watch, you see kind of leave. You're like, okay, sure, whatever. Like, I was kind of pissed when Jules Henningberg and Sergio Perkovic walked. But I got it. They needed to test the waters a little bit. Go somewhere new and kind of, find a new identity. But how in the world do you let Rob Pannell leave? For those who don't necessarily watch PLL, Rob Pannell was basically the only reason that the Redwoods had offensive anything last year and for the past couple of years. And, you're probably wondering, you're probably like, oh, but that is what it is, Like you said, he just wants to go find a new identity and try something new. Which, yeah, I'll agree. But for him to walk and then go sign with the Whipsnakes is almost like you're punching me in the balls. Like that's actually absurd. Like, that's crazy. Because when it comes down to it, it's like, obviously, the only team I hate in that league is Maryland, the Whipsnakes. I do not like the Whipsnakes. And it's not because they're bad people or shitty players. It's because they just win too much. They just flat out win too much. It's the same shit that you see in the NFL with the Patriots. It's like, for the longest time, I despised the Patriots because it was every year they were in the damn Super Bowl, and I was tired of it. Tired of it. Damn it. Tired of this, Grandpa. And they said, that's too damn bad. But I don't know. I just felt just a huge slap in the face when seeing that, waking up to that news. I freaked. I about threw myself out of a window. But whatever, I guess. It's looking like a fire sale for the Redwoods. Obviously, kind of taking a jump back. Like, there's been a lot of turnover in the PLL. A lot of coaches have left. Obviously, we have Andy Towers left from the Chaos. Nat St. Laurent just left from the Redwoods. And, the list kind of goes on, which is crazy. Obviously, you can't expect coaches to stay there forever and whatnot. And, I'm sure it's a hard thing to do because, like, you're giving your summer away, with your family, especially because, I think of Nat St. Laurent, who's already a coach of, a Division III team in Ohio. Like, obviously it's hard. So obviously, you wish him the best and whatnot. And was he the best coach for the job? Maybe not, but he's still, it's hard to let, the person who started, the entire thing. And I mean, the first year he took the Redwoods to, the national championship. So, I mean, that's, obviously it's going to sting, but, obviously wish him all the best. But I don't know. There's a lot of shit going on. Obviously, the draft is coming up not too long. You see Clark's big board all over Instagram now and whatnot. Obviously, I think once we get closer to the draft, if this continues, is when we'll kind of talk more about the draft and whatnot. But going back to my Redwoods, man, what in the hell is going on? What is going on? Because we're trading everybody. We traded Owen Grant to the Cannons, on top of Rob Pennell leaving, as well as Nat St. Laurent leaving. Although Joe Splina is now the GM of the Redwoods, which is pretty cool. But traded them. Well, we didn't trade Rob, but Rob left. Traded Owen Grant, who I'm pretty sure we just got out of the draft. Yeah, I know he was hurt, but it's like, what a waste of a pick. I know we got the 3rd overall pick and a 4th round pick, but wild. I was excited, and I'm pretty worried now. Obviously, I get it. They want to rebuild. I know you get Brendan Nichtern from Denver, which is cool. Which I think is a cool little trade. Obviously, Rookie of the Year in 22, I believe. But I don't know. I think. Oh shit! What? How did I not see this? Anthony Kelly is now the Redwoods coach. I knew that. I knew that. I promise. I knew that. But I think they are making some cool moves, some good moves that I like Aiden Denenza out of Duke. I think that'll be a good bring. I haven't seen Vince D'Alto or much of his stuff, so I think they're making good moves. Obviously, I think it's gonna take some time. I'm more worried about the midfield, I guess. I mean, that's always been the problem these past couple seasons with the Redwoods has been their midfield. But hopefully they can turn it around. Obviously, defensively, it's been different. Last year was a completely new group than what we were used to. If you're a Redwoods fan, and I mean, it goes on and on. I think I'm excited for this year, the PLL, because I mean, I think the big splash is, or well, not the big splash, but I'm really excited to see what Denver does, because I mean, you have 3 Tewaaraton Award winners as your attack line, basically. That's pretty cool. You have Logan Wozanauskas, you have Brendan O'Neill, and then now they have Pat Cavanaugh. That's pretty damn crazy. Pretty damn crazy. And I mean, you have did I get that right? I don't know if I got that right. Hold on. Let me do me some scrolling here. But yeah, it's gonna be a cool. Yeah, Pat Cavanaugh, and then obviously you have Chris Cavanaugh coming into the league, so all 3 Cavanaugh bros in the league be pretty cool, pretty dang cool. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited to see what Denver does, and see if we can get some new blood when it comes to championship here. Because I mean, I think we're in a good time now where it's not just the Whip Snakes. I think we do have some really good teams. I think the biggest thing that I would like to see from the league or whatever, at least from the teams, is obviously when we look at Atlas, they need to make the jump. Obviously, they just need to make the jump, figure it out to try and get to over the hump that is the playoffs. And because I mean, when you have what's his face, the MVP of the league, there's. And when you have as good of a team as you did this past year, it's just not good. It's just not good. And I feel like that's been the kind of thing for the Atlas over the past couple years, is that they've had the team. They've had the talent. It's just, for whatever reason, they just weren't able to get over the hump of the playoffs for whatever reason. Because, I mean, I think they have Jeff Teat. And when you have Jeff Teat, you should have a ring. You should have a trophy. That man's is fucking crazy. He's crazy good. And you're wasting his talent and wasting his time if you can't, get over the damn hump. But I think when it comes to, we look at the other teams, I'm not going to even talk about the Whip Snakes because I don't want to. I refuse. I refuse. But you got Utah, the Archers. They have a great team. They really do. It's hard to beat, obviously, defending champs now. So, I mean, hey, what can you say? I think they're going to have a good year again. I think I don't think it's going to be quite as good as this past year, but I think they have a chance. The cool thing is right now, because the league is so small, everybody has a chance. Everybody has a chance, and I think it's going to be nice to see some new blood. I think is what I'm just trying to get at overall. I will say, like, I need the jersey game to be a little bit better this year, because I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was gonna like the jerseys this year. Obviously, inaugural year of the cities and whatnot, but they need to be better than that. Especially my Redwoods. Like, bring back the damn stripes. Bring back the damn pinstripes. Don't give me that. Don't give me the shit that you gave me during the season. Like that, unacceptable. Frankly, unacceptable. And I mean, like, look again. I'm not a Maryland fan, but can we make them look less like the Maryland Terps and more like their own team, preferably? Just a suggestion. But if we look at the other teams, obviously the Water Dogs. I don't know. Obviously, you have Mikey Sowers. He's a good fucking player. Like, you can't tell me he's not. But I think they have a lot of holes that probably need to be filled. I think am I thinking about somebody else? I think I'm thinking about somebody else. I mean, they did sign Zed Williams from the Whipsnakes. I think that's a good steal. I think he'll pair well with Mikey. So I think they'll be good. I think there's some questions on defense, but I think overall they're gonna have a pretty solid year. And we already talked about the Outlaws, and I mean Cannons. Cannons were my favorite team of this past year. I really enjoyed the Cannons. I really like the look of the Cannons. I really like all the pieces that they have on the Cannons. I mean, obviously they just came off of the championship series where they won that, and I mean they have some. I really like their coach. Their coach is great. I think you pair that they just need to keep it going. I think another year under Brian Holman's system and whatnot, and you keep the people that you have and you add a couple more pieces, I think they're gonna be good. I think they're gonna be fine. I think they have a chance. I think they're my pick to be in the championship. I don't know if necessarily gonna win, but I think they're my pick to be at least one of the two teams in the championship. I'm not so sure about who else, but that's who I would say. Just because of, I don't know, maybe bias, but also just looking at their team too. So, yeah. Fuck it. Yeah. Is that all the teams? But I mean, other than that, like, if we look at professionals, like, obviously they just started the women's league, which I think that's going to be exciting. I think the women's league is needed. I think it's about damn time that they have a professional women's league. I hope it does well, because they really do have some exciting players, especially at the college level, and for them to not be able to, I guess, pursue that, if that makes sense, after college and whatnot, I think it's just a waste of talent. And I think for them to be able to continue for, as long as, some of these people in the PLL have, I think would be super damn cool. Super fucking cool. So I'm super excited. I know, obviously, I'm not the most tapped into women's lacrosse, but I think this might be my in. I think I will watch the games. Obviously, I feel like it's gonna be fun. And I mean, if I do decide to go to one of the games this year, I think that'll be a fun little watch. Because I from what I've seen in the college Division I women's games, they're pretty exciting. They have some exciting moments and some really good athletes. So, do I understand the rules? Hell no. Not one bit. Why are they dropping their sticks? God only knows. Why do they have to stop? I don't know. Ask them. But sometimes it's fun. It's fun to watch. But But yeah, I think that's where we're probably going to end it off here. I know I kind of got a little rambly at the end there, but I think I'm excited. I hope you guys are too for this. I think this will be fun. Hopefully, the format of this is okay. If it's not, I'll fix it. I'll probably play around with a few things. I might even make this shorter. I want to try and add video. I tried to add video for this episode, but then my camera was like, nah, not today. So hopefully next time I can get some video for you guys, so you're not just looking at a screen. But I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, thanks. Keep watching. Tell your friends. If you know people who are also interested in lacrosse and want to listen to some random dude ramble for however long about lacrosse, and give his opinions that don't really matter, that maybe you agree with, maybe you don't, I think that'd be fun. But all right, yeah, this has been the Crosscheck podcast, and I guess I'm out of here. Yeah.